Well, it's got to come on here.
It's loading up.
It's loading up. It says that we're live. Somebody check it out.
Haven't gotten a notification yet.
Let me look at Restream first. And
there it is. It just came through.
But it says it's sending data. We're live. Hey, y'all, how are you doing? This is Jimmy Bratcher. I'm here with the whole crew. I got the whole lot of them out, except for Chris, and he didn't want to come on. And so that's all right. We'll let him. He's sitting out in the garage watching and making sure that we don't misrepresent him. But we're glad that you're here tonight. I am honored to have my kids here with me.
Yes, we're
and
so
Sherry
proud of them.
Bratcher sitting here next to me. Leroy, get in a picture.
Where did he go?
There you go. All right. And we are having tonight the first ever. First of all, it's good to see you guys, like
Yes.
all in the same place at the same time. It's like we should maybe do this when we're not streaming or something.
That's right. So we can connect and hook up.
We can talk about family stuff because we's family.
Okay.
It's surprising we waited this long to do it, you know?
Yeah, I know. It really is. So let's see if we got anybody coming on right now. We got
We do over here. We have Martha Rawlings.
Vanessa
Patsy,
Rice is
Larry,
on here.
yeah.
Patsy, Diane Bray. How are you, kiddo?
Hey, Diane.
We're glad to see you.
Dwayne DeGravels.
Yeah, I know. It really.
Dwayne DeGravels is on here.
Yep.
Too.
Hey, Dwayne, how are you, man? We used to do a bunch of prisons with him back in the day.
Aunt Patsy's on here, kids.
Somebody check
Pat,
it out. Yep. So that's a good thing. But what'd you say, hon?
Larry Austin is on here.
Larry Austin bought us
People are coming
barbecue
on.
at Arthur Bryant's.
Yes. Did y'all see that the other day when we were eating barbecue? It was so good.
And yeah, I know these two over
right.
here, they're Jones and
That's all right. I had a real nice brisket that somebody cooked on my green egg.
there you go.
He's gotten really good at cooking brisket on the egg. So
Amanda, is Chris cooking something on the green egg tonight?
No, I cook steaks on the grill.
Yeah.
You did on the green egg?
No, just on the grill.
On the gas grill?
Yep,
You ain't right.
they were fake steaks.
they were delicious.
They were delicious.
Hey,
What kind of steaks?
Sure they were. Manners doesn't like all that.
T-bones.
Nice.
T-bones?
Hey kids, Susan Spick is on here.
Kelly on here.
Ray Anderson's
Ray
on
Anderson
here. What's
is
up,
on
Bubba?
here. Bubba. And then
Ashley
Ashley Mollis,
How about that?
Betty Emerson, Tony Southwick, Kelly Shear, Chris Shear.
Chris is watching. Hey,
all-
Chris, you can come up and hang out with Amanda if you want to.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
Leroy are on here.
Mark Mason's Mac Mason.
Yeah.
Slack Mason, that's his name. 'Cause he's a slacker.
Hey, TJ Clay.
And TJ
Hey,
Clay. Hey,
TJ.
TJ. How are you guys? I hope you're in California. Out there with all the
Betty Emerson.
in California.
Betty Emerson says hello to the family. And so
Karen
does
Yord.
and
The
so
Yords
does-
are here.
Tony Southwick says hello to the family. Are y'all reading the stuff yourself?
No.
No, I've only seen like 4 people come in. So
Abby Lopez, that's who we've been doing the
Abby. Hello.
yeah, from they live in Chicago actually.
Yes, they do. I'm not laughing at Abby. Mark Mason called me the king of cheese.
Hi Cal.
Well, I mean,
He called me the king of cheese.
maybe
There's
it's
a story behind that too.
Yeah, we were doing a prison down in Florida in late February, and I was up playing, and the inmates were controlling the graphics,
Hi Eloise.
and they put up this graphic behind me that I was the king of cheese. So how long have we been on here? We got,
2 minutes.
is it over yet? Are we done?
Are we done?
This is
Everything-
it.
about 40 minutes in.
Michaela's watching. Michaela, the graduate, our
Graduate.
granddaughter.
Yeah.
Kayla.
She's hot stuff here.
Dan Emerson's watching.
Don, what's going on, man?
Don and Pat.
So we got 31 on my profile and 13 on the page. And then we got 4 people over on YouTube. But for those of you that don't know all of these people, these are our children, Jason. And Jason lives in Dallas. Am I still on here? There I am. There you go. Jason lives in Dallas and he works for State Farm and is a chef, and he's just getting ready tomorrow to launch a new project where he's going to be cooking and creating recipes, which is like the best thing ever for the coronavirus blues. For those of us that are wasting away in coronavirusville. And then my daughter, Amanda, down here, Amanda lives near us in Weston, Missouri, and she has worked for Sherry and I since 2002. In fact, she was her and her first husband, Jonathan, when they first had Michaela, they were going to move to Tulsa and help a friend of ours start a church. And I said, my wife will die. And so I offered her a job and she came to work for us. And she's been here pretty much ever since. She's gone away a few times and came back, and we're grateful to have her. So if you ever call the office, she is there. And then Leroy is back there rearranging furniture. Oh, bringing the dog stuff in.
The dogs was whining and they needed to come hang out.
They were whining. And so this is Leroy and Jessica. And those of you that were here last week know that was it last week we did the story? It was, wasn't it? 2 weeks ago, we told our story about meeting Jessica back in 2011 and Leroy and the 4 boys, and they all became a family. But we've been doing this series called Overcoming Bad Religion because as a family, we spent the most part of the kids' life when they were at home in bad religion. There's Michaela, the rock. Oh, you got some new hair color. Look at that.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hi.
Michaela's going to be on with me Tuesday night.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about her. I was supposed to speak at her commencement ceremony on Wednesday. Of course, that was canceled. So I just wanted a chance to come on here and honor her and all the 2020 graduates. And Michaela, you feel free to invite your friends to watch. And I promise I won't embarrass you too much. So we've been doing this series called Overcoming Bad Religion, and we kind of went through the history of some of the things that we wrote about in our book, Granny Paid for Our Divorce. If you haven't read this, it's available on the website. Up in the heading, I think you can get to the website. But Sherry and I, we spent, when we came to Jesus in 76. So Jason was born in 1974. And Sherry and I got married, right, Jace?
That's right.
You were looking
like, what are they talking about? Who are they talking about?
Sorry. Concentrating.
And Sherry was about 7 months pregnant, and we got married at the courthouse in Clay County, Liberty, Missouri, and it was awful. And so Jason was around through all of that. Of course, he wasn't very big, but you do remember some of that, don't you?
I remember bits and pieces of it. I remember some of the stuff in Excelsior early on when you guys were split up. I remember shortly thereafter moving back into to Babaw's house.
Mm-hmm.
To be Sherry's grandmother.
Yeah, I remember a few things like that. I remember spending a lot of time with Baba watching wrestling. So.
She did like wrestling, didn't she?
Yeah.
Handsome Harley Race and all those.
And Rufus R. Jones.
Rufus R. Jones.
Bulldog Bob Brown. So for those of you that don't know, all of the beginnings of all the World Wrestling Federation came out of Kansas City, Kansas, and in a place called Memorial Hall, which just happened to be where I met Sherry. We met there. So you want to say anything else, Jason?
No, that's it.
About that time?
I want to say something about that. I know that Jason remembered that because you got to get a picture of this. My grandfather was 6'6" and weighed about 240. And my grandmother was 5'2" and weighed about 100 and something. And so they look like Mutt and Jeff. So here's this little bitty lady sitting in front of the TV going, "Don't you hurt him? And she was rooting for her. Whoever it was she liked at that time. Rufus R. Jones was her favorite at one time, and Handsome Harley Race. So I know Jason remembers that. We were there for a lot of that, weren't we, hon?
Yes.
Yeah. And so Jason was born in January of 1974. And shortly after he was born, we put him in the back of a 65 Chevy van in a playpen and drove to Tulsa to visit some friends for the weekend. Ended up staying there. We just didn't come home. And Jason had his first birthday in Tulsa. And shortly after that, we came back. And in 76, Sherry and I got a divorce. And I think it was in March or something. And we've got the trifecta. I showed that last night. Both of our marriage licenses and our divorce papers.
Yes.
And in December of 1976, we stumbled into a little church in Northwest Missouri with a marriage license. And the pastor married us on the agreement that I would give my life to Jesus.
But you forgot to tell an important part about Jason.
Okay, well, I can tell that. But Sherry, shortly before that happened in December, Sherry was going to this church and she took Jason in one Sunday night, and there was a prayer service after church, and the pastor said, if you need prayer, why don't you come forward? And of course, Sherry needed prayer because she had all kinds of problems. Do you want to tell this or do you want me to do it?
No, go ahead.
And what are you laughing at? Look, there's Chris.
Hey,
We got the
our
whole
other
herd.
son-in-law. Yeah.
Hi, Leroy.
He's hiding too.
So
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
We're so glad you're here,
yeah,
Chris.
man, hang out.
And you too, Leroy, when you pop in and out.
I'm here. I'm just off camera.
So Sherry obviously needed prayer, but she wouldn't go forward. So Jason tugged on her pant leg and got her attention and was persistent enough to continue to do that. And she finally took him up to the front to have prayer. And she told the pastor it was him that wanted prayer. And the pastor got down on one knee and looked him in the eye and said, son, what do you want Jesus to do for you? And he said, I want Jesus to bring my daddy home. And so they prayed, and their lives continued to get worse. And I continued to be crazy. And then on December 19th, 1976, we stumbled into God's sheep shed in Hamilton, Missouri. And the pastor,
about the nose breaking and no granny.
well, I'm not gonna get into all that. So
that's a good part
that's
of the
part
story.
of the book, man. We don't have to give away everything that's in the book. Y'all can read the book. But she was talking about how that we got the thing that was the catalyst for our divorce was we got in a fight one night, and
One of many nights.
Sherry won. And after having reconstructive surgery on my face, my grandmother agreed to pay for our divorce. That's why the title is Granny Paid for Our Divorce. So to back up just a little bit, so Jessica was born in 1972. And you want to give them a little backstory on yourself, kiddo?
Yeah, so born in 1972, Liberty, Missouri, was there for a little while. We moved around quite a bit. So I went to, at the time, 2 of the 3 elementary schools in Liberty. And then we moved to Tennessee for a bit, a couple places in Kansas, Arizona, Chicago, kind of all over the place. But we always ended up back in Liberty. I came back finally in 83, 84 timeframe in middle school, and graduated high school from Liberty. I don't know what else you were kind of.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
So we came to Jesus in December of 76, and Amanda was born in August of 77. And so we moved to Hamilton in October of 77 into a house that we were paying $55 a month rent for, and it had no heat. I mean, it didn't have any device to heat it with a newborn baby. And I bought a chainsaw from my pastor that weighed 35 pounds. And it
You made about
literally,
100.
yeah, it would like you could get like, I don't know, 20 horsepower out of it or something. And went to the woods and cut wood. So we started there, and everything at that time in our life was really good. But very soon we got trapped in this trap of religious performance, where the concept that we embraced of God was that he was always analyzing us, always judging us, always ready to take away anything that he had given if we weren't good enough. And so we
could never measure up.
So we got trapped in that performance thing, which consequently caused our home to be a little bit in disarray. So for instance, I don't know, Amanda, do you remember when we got a TV?
No, I mean we had TVs sometimes. Sometimes we didn't. Sometimes they got taken out just because.
My first remembrance of TV was a 13-inch with rabbit ears, black and white TV that sat in the corner at the Red Cedar Siding House when you and I watched Blazing Saddles in the middle of the night one night.
That was not a very religious thing to do. Can I get a barump? Somebody said.
Oh.
Well, there was 7 years. There was a 7-year stretch that we wouldn't allow television. We wouldn't allow a Christmas tree. We wouldn't have anything to do with celebrating, Santa Claus or Christmas or any of those things. Does my video keep locking up on you guys?
No.
Okay, good. All right, good. Then I won't worry about it. So, and so, music was, one of the first things that my pastor told me was, you got to quit playing that devil music. And so he wasn't talking about like rock and roll. He was talking about any kind of rock and roll, even what was considered contemporary Christian rock and roll, anything that had that rhythm, that beat that's driving guitars. So we weren't allowed to, Mama didn't allow none of that stuff around here.
It wasn't just Mama.
So you want to talk about that? Anybody want to talk about that time in our lives?
We were so young at that point. It didn't really make that big of a difference. That music part of it really didn't, for me at least, didn't start making a difference until high school, where I had some freedom to hang out with people outside of the circle of the church.
What, Amanda?
I said you had freedom?
I started playing baseball.
Now we're talking.
You started playing baseball.
I started playing baseball, and so I would ride the games with people.
Well, it's important to say that Jason was the valedictorian of his class.
I was my class of one.
He was the only one in his class. He was the only.
I wasn't homeschooled either.
Yeah, he wasn't homeschooled either. So
Nope.
he was in school. So you started to play baseball, but we had church on Tuesday nights, and you had baseball games on Tuesday nights.
Yeah. So the first team that I tried out for, I made the team. Both me and a couple of other guys that we went to church with. However, they told us before the first game that we couldn't play because we couldn't play on Tuesday nights.
Right.
And so the next town over allowed us to play, even though we could only play on Friday nights because they didn't have enough people to field an entire team.
Right. And so when you started playing on Tuesday nights, what we would do is because we couldn't miss church.
That's right.
We couldn't miss church because God would be upset with us. We would I'd take Jason to the ballpark and drop him off and leave. And that just breaks my heart that Tony Southwick had a good comment here. He said,
glad you weren't my dad during that phase.
That's what Jessica says too.
And
Huh?
I wanted to say too,
What'd you say, Amanda?
I said that's what Jessica says too.
Thought bubble coming out. Never glad you called that.
and I wanted to say back to the music and the TV, even though we felt like we were doing the right thing for everybody, but we got into the mode of performance, and which never wins. So instead of thinking about or remembering the fact that God is all about family, He loves family, and wanting like Jason to play ball,
Baseball.
we should have been there for him. But we were so hard nosed on thinking that, performance, we had to do the right thing and be in church, and about the music and the TV. You all should tell the stories about, oh yeah, mom and dad said we couldn't do that, but when they left the house, what did y'all do?
I mean,
Well, Melissa and I used to sit, we'd go to the church. I don't even know what, during the summer, I think it was when you were cleaning the church or something. And Melissa and I would sit in the parking lot in the Golf Volkswagen and listen to the oldies station until we saw you walk around the corner to come back to the car, and then we'd switch the station real fast.
digital radio, those programmable buttons, you could hide that stuff pretty easy. For me, I would do things like I think one of my favorite memories is that everybody went to bed early one night, and Dad told the story that we had this TV, but it was on the front porch. Well, I went out to the front porch and sat maybe 18 inches in front of the TV and watched the Grammys, where I saw Bon Jovi for the first time.
That's fabulous. I
It
didn't
is.
know that
I'm
story.
so glad you did that.
Since we're talking about music, Jim Peters is on here, and it's thanks to him that we went through all that crap.
It's his fault.
Yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
are frozen up. See, we keep frozen up.
Yeah, it's just our local
Jessica and
stuff.
Leroy keep freezing up.
Well, it
too.
must be our feed here, so
It
everybody
has to
says
be,
we're
yeah.
okay. So
Hey, everybody. I'm sorry I haven't been reading who's on here, but we
That's all
see
right.
everybody.
we're working.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Alex Garcia. Hey, Alex, man, how are you?
Sunny
So-
Ray Green.
So we had this real legalistic environment that we did everything in, but well, I don't know. The big question for me is, so how do we get through that? How did you guys get through
Yeah,
that?
how did you guys get through that?
We didn't know any better.
Yeah, I mean, for
I mean,
me,
it wasn't like,
Well, I'm not talking about necessarily knowing any better then, but after you knew better.
That you didn't end up hating us or hating Jesus.
well,
All that.
for me, it was, starting the summer after or actually the last few months of high school. I took my first big trip, and I went with a friend to Virginia for 2 weeks. And we experienced a lot of, just stuff that I had never seen before. And so I started to try to wrestle with what I had been taught against what I was seeing, because the heart felt the same. Then the next summer I moved to New York to learn how to cook. And that was a completely different environment, where these people talked the same way. However, there was no manipulation behind it. And so, but then I was forced to make a decision of, am I going to actually do this the way that I've always known, or am I going to walk away to find something else? When me and our former pastor had a falling out over me taking the youth group to a Petra concert.
Thanks to Jim Peters.
Thank you, Jim
Explain that
Peters.
about Jim Peters, though.
Oh, Jim is one of my dear friends, and
Hey, Sonny, we love you all.
I like to pick on him a lot, so
And he
we'll
picks
leave it
right
at that.
back, too. So
We'll leave it at that. So
Jim Peters is a mess. We
Yeah.
love Sunny. And maybe we like Jim.
he wishes he could hack into this stream right now and
He would take it over.
show up, but we ain't gonna let that. So So yeah, and we used to travel together. I mean, what we do in ministry, we were doing back there during the '80s, and I remember we had a Volkswagen Golf, and I would put Sherry, the two kids, a sound system, a guitar, and all of our luggage, and in that car. And
Yeah,
we
Jason and I never fought on those trips because the sound system was in between.
Yeah, we had two 12-inch speakers in between us. We couldn't even see each other.
I love it.
Yep.
I'm not sad. I'm not sad.
Treacherous.
Oh,
And if you'd have
gosh.
been there, Jessica, it would have been sitting on your lap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, as the oldest.
that's my point exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Mm-mm.
The oldest has to set the example.
Be the
Yeah,
leader.
exactly. By putting it in your lap.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
But so, Jason, when did you graduate high school? What year?
92.
92. Amanda, so you graduated in 94,
5.
95. And so in 92, 93, we left that church and started going to St. Joe Church in February of 90. Well, we did that in September of 93. And that was a completely different environment in that we were, it was a big blown going, lots of loud music, lights and all that stuff. As much as you could have lights, you didn't have fog machines back in the 90s, but so that was a completely different environment. And we went right into really full-time ministry once we got there, and Amanda was still at home for a little bit. She was there for a couple of years. I think your senior year was when we moved in May of 94.
Well, and they were both in a Christian school,
Yeah.
other than 5th grade, correct? Isn't that Jason?
Yeah, I was in 5th grade. Amanda was in 2nd.
Yeah. And they were in a public school then, but I was one of their teachers in a small Christian school. And
I didn't get away with nothing.
What?
I didn't get away with nothing.
And I sincerely wish I had not been so harsh. I feel like I wished I hadn't been so performance orientated, because Jesus isn't really that way at all. I mean, he is so in love with family and wanting your desires, the things that he places in your heart, to come to life. But we thought we were doing the right thing by protecting you from the big bad world and all the stuff, all that. So we thought we were doing the right thing, but we really weren't doing the right thing. So, I just,
I don't think you can say you weren't doing the right thing. You were doing the right thing for
The time.
the options that you had.
you are being very nice, Amanda.
You didn't know no better.
That's it. Exactly. And the sad thing for me is that when Dad and I first gave our lives to Jesus, it was so miraculous and we were so free.
Oh,
We knew that Jesus loved us and that he could do anything. There was nothing that could have stood in our way.
right.
But as some things developed in the place that we were in, we allowed ourselves to
Make those decisions.
make those decisions. We don't blame anybody. You have to. The thing I love about what Amanda and I've had conversations, and she said that, in her own walk right now, she has her personal relationship with Jesus and loves Jesus. And some of the things that she learned there, she's been able just to put away. You want to talk a little bit about that, sweetheart, or no?
I know I was talking to Michaela about letting the dogs in.
Did you hear what I said about having your own relationship with Jesus, now?
Well, I think I had to make a choice as to, growing up the way we did, we saw what God did. You know what I mean? Like, there was no denying that that there were real encounters and real things happened. Whether the situation was right or not, God was always there, you know?
Yes.
And so I never questioned that. Like, I never questioned that God was there or that God would be there for me. I just didn't like the whole
Pretense.
yeah, like how I had to be so judgmental and mean to people. And I remember, like, we joined a group, stopped going to church. We joined a group that was like a home church or whatever. And we started doing a lot of outreach stuff. And I remember meeting this girl named Marla. And Marla was an atheist, and she, you know, didn't have her life all together like, you know, I did. And
She can see you, Chris. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
You are on camera.
Yeah, I blew that one, didn't I?
Yeah, man, you messed that one up.
Anyway, so I remember this Marla, and she was so loving. Like, it didn't matter what people were like or what qualities they had or how they acted or dressed or anything. She just loved people. And I was like, that's what we're supposed to be like. It's not about all the other stuff.
Right.
It's not about how many times I go to church or, you know, whether I do the right thing every day or whatever. It's about love.
That's
It is
great,
about-
sweetheart.
Yes, it's fabulous.
And I think that that's one of the things that
The left hand, see what the right hand.
for our family that made us make it through it was the fact that, well, first of all, we did everything together, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
I mean, it didn't matter what we were doing. We were always doing it together. And I guess because we didn't have any money to hire a babysitter or something. I don't know. But
We didn't do anything outside of church. We weren't allowed to have friends outside of church.
There's that.
We couldn't do anything.
Jason said there was that.
wasn't nothing to do but that. That's all we
It was
had.
either hang out with people from church or
Hey,
each other,
somebody
and
stopped by
I guess
to
we
say
liked each
hi.
other better.
Hey, Jacob.
Hey,
How are you?
Jacob, how are you, hon?
See this?
That's
Yeah,
my
see
grandson.
See this?
That's my grandson. How are you, hon?
Cave.
You doing all right, Jacob?
Yeah, I am.
Good.
Good to see your face.
Good, good. You working out a lot?
Yeah,
With Matt.
yeah,
Good. Is he cracking the whip?
a little bit, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
We're glad you stuck on here.
Yeah,
That's
she
nice.
snuck on. So yeah, there wasn't nothing to do but that, was there?
Well, and we were in a town of 280 people, so it's not like there were really a lot of people to be friendly
And the
with.
county was how big, Jason?
The county was 6,000.
5. It's fit 5 something. Smallest county in the state.
Yep.
So there wasn't a lot of options. What were you going to say, Amanda?
I said it was 187.
It was 187
Yes.
when we were
Kingston,
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was tiny.
287.
It was
We'll,
tiny.
we'll disagree on this one.
One of the interesting things too, I wanted to bring out now, and most of you that have joined on that we met Jessica 11 years ago.
9 years ago.
Oh, 9 years ago. Okay, sorry. And the interesting thing when Leroy and Jessica and all the boys came into our family opened their hearts up so big, and they opened their hearts up so big. It was so great to, my kids have always said, well, as long as I can remember, we've always had people in our lives and we loved it, but when they came in, it was just like, it was amazing. But when Jessica and Leroy came back to our house for the very first time for a visit as family, and we celebrated that day, and the boys were there, everybody was there, and it was so great. We had a bunch of friends that came over and hung out and all that. And the thing is that after everybody went home, Leroy and the boys had to go back home because they had, work to go to, and Jason had to go home, and everybody was going home. And so Jimmy and Jessica were in the living room, and I went to the living room and I said, hey, I said, this has been wonderful. And, everybody's been around. We've got to be family for the first time, all of us together. It was wonderful. But you two have never gotten to do anything to get acquainted by yourselves. So why don't you just take a ride and tell them about how, when you went, how.
Well, it was that was my year of weeping, because that's all I did for that year was cry. But we went, and I thought, where am I going to take this girl? So we were in the White Pearl, and I took her to all the places where I lived, where I grew up, and where I lived when Sherry and I were divorced, and every place that we went. So I went to my mom and dad's house, and I pulled up across the street from it, and I said, this is where I grew up. And Jessica goes, yeah. And I was right there, about, I don't know, maybe 20 yards away. And we went to where I lived when I was divorced from Sherry. And she goes, and yeah, I lived right over there across the creek. And we were just always in that same proximity with each other, but there was never any connection, nor did I ever see her mother either at that point. So, but then she came in, and these guys, Amanda and Jason, they had to decide what they were going to do with all that. But y'all want to talk about that at all? Jason found out he wasn't the oldest.
Yeah, I mean, so when
Did you see Jessica? Jason, did you see Jessica?
no, I didn't.
Okay, well, look at her one more time, Jessica.
Well, I could do it again. It's not funny.
Just making faces.
She was making faces at you.
Oh, that's why I'm not watching the camera or the speeds. I know my sisters. So when I found out, my only response, the only logical response is, and sorry for any of you that are listening, this wasn't meant as derogatory, but we took in every stray that came through our lives. If somebody didn't have a place to go, we took them in and got them patched up until it was time for them to move on to what was better for them. And that wasn't always people either. I mean, we had pet chickens and 87 dogs and just cats. And I mean, just wherever there was a need, we always stepped up to try to fill it. And it only made sense to me that if we did that for the people that we didn't know, why would we not do that for our own blood?
Yes.
So that was my.
Tell about your blog that you wrote about hearing.
Well, that's in the book too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the comment that you made was funny.
Oh, I don't remember. I mean, that was
when you and Amanda met at the house, and you asked how what she thought, and she told you, and you said,
I'm surprised it didn't turn up later or earlier.
Yes.
I mean, are there any more of you out there?
I'm surprised it hadn't happened before now.
Yep.
So through all of this that we've drug you all through, we arrive at this point.
Wait, I asked Amanda what she thought about that.
What did you think, Manders?
I don't know. I don't have anything to say.
You don't? I don't.
It's pretty much covered it.
That's so unlike you.
I know.
But so we've been through all this stuff and together, and here we are at this moment, and we're family. And I think for me, that's it so reflects the way that God treats us, and that we go through all these things and we make all these mistakes, and we come out on the other side, and He's still there, ready to embrace us. So going through all this, what do y'all think? I mean, is there something that brought you that was the key factor in and you getting through it without being better. Because a lot of people go through these kind of religious abuse situations like we were in, and they come out and they're mad at everybody, or they take the cause and, we have friends that have been friends forever that have taken the cause of what's wrong with religion, and that's their banner. Now they're just waving it. It's like, this is wrong. That's all they have to say is this is wrong, this is wrong, it's wrong. But you guys aren't that way. So how did you get there?
It was a long process for me. It was isolating myself from that situation when we were younger. It was being part of a group as I got older, where we read a very specific set of books. The one that probably really wrecked my Christianity was a book called The Divine Conspiracy by Dallas Willard. And, it brought about thoughts that, this isn't about, all of these rules is we've lost what it was about. And so I had to spend a lot of time making decisions that I wasn't going to be bitter, because it would have been real easy at times. And, Amanda and I have had each other to get through some of this. And we've had talks and talks and talks that where things might have gotten hard or whatever, and we could bounce things off of each other. But at the end of it, we have always, as a family, we've always been about love. And doing anything outside of love just never really seemed like an option. It's against our identity.
Do you have anything you want to say about that, Amanda?
She's not talking tonight. Well, how did you get through it, honey? What were some of the things that you got out of your heart so that you could move on?
I don't know.
That's okay. That's okay. We don't want to put you on the spot. Well, I just appreciate the fact that both of you are still as sweet as you always were, and that you're loving and caring and giving. And, I think that for Jimmy and I, that sometimes he always quotes that we, when we were raising you, we kind of grew up together,
Mm-hmm.
with you all. And because we really didn't have a clue what we were doing, and we'd both been really crazy. And then we came together, and even though we loved you sincerely, we didn't always make the right choices, or
Right.
I just, like I said, I wish I'd have been a whole lot more fun than I was.
Yeah.
And I feel like we laughed a lot. I just wish we could have allowed you all to.
We could have celebrated you more.
Yes.
When you were growing up.
Yeah. And the reason that we're doing this tonight, actually, for the people that are watching, is that, sometimes we think we're doing the right thing, but religion is never the answer. It's having a relationship with Jesus. And Jesus brings freedom into your life like nothing else does. And he is all about love. And he wants us to be able to walk in that, and rules and regulations, even though we have to have some, it's not regimented. It is, God made things for us that way, so that for our protection and our good, never to confine us or put us into
Suppress us. Yeah.
Amanda's making faces at me.
Are you?
Chris keeps telling me to smile.
Is that what it is?
That's
She
nice.
was making faces, and he was smiling behind her, so I should have known that.
So Jessica,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure and bring out why we were doing this, because, God is all about family, and he loves family, and we need to be able to build each other up and help each other and strengthen each other. And we're so proud of our family.
we
aren't
are. Yeah.
Every one of them. We are
Yep.
just
And I think a lot of times parents, we all fail the expectations that we place upon ourselves and our kids place upon us. I say it often that I've never met an adult child that thought his parents raised him right.
It's
That is
true.
probably a true statement, but as long as we are willing and
Having this cry for vengeance, I'm not having, like, I mean, we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago that I could have been vengeful and I could have wanted to say all the things that I said over the years of what would I do if I met you guys, right? And none of those would have brought life or hope or goodness or Amanda into my life.
Jason did it, so we all have
Yeah, we
to.
all have
Sorry, I mean,
Started it, Jason. You're the troublemaker.
it's magic hands.
Actually, his hand was that, can somebody shut her up?
Oh, it was.
No.
Oh my God. But my video paused, like it just stopped, and so it gave me a play button, so I hit the play button again. Come on now.
So anyway, Jessica, you were
Yes.
saying, can you recover from that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I said what I needed to say. It was really about choosing the goodness of what God has versus the stuff that the world says I earned.
Yeah.
Right? I earned the right to be angry. I earned the right to seek justice. I earned the right to have revenge. Like all those things are things that we talk about all the time, but that doesn't give me this. That doesn't give me a brother and a sister and another mom and you. It gives me loneliness and a hole in my life.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Can I say something about what you said, Dad, about feeling like maybe you didn't do it right?
yeah.
The same God that gave us all the rules also said that his mercies are new every morning. If he knew that we weren't going to mess up, why did he give us mercy new every day? It's, I mean, it showed his nature in that, yeah, there's all these rules, but hey, I still got you. Yeah,
That's
Right.
you're still forgiven.
And that's
And maybe you should talk about how we attacked you after we all met and we're a family and you decided you wanted to hold on to all that guilt nonsense.
well, I think that I thanks for sharing that, Jason and Jessica and
Yes.
Amanda, and everybody doing the
And
wave
Chris.
and everybody doing the wave. But yeah, I mean, after, and I think, Jason, that, what I wanted to say about what you said is that I think that aspect of it is why we were able to survive, is because God gives us these infinite chances of starting over and getting it right. And we get to he works with us. The Holy Spirit works with us until we get past those things, not for the performance aspect of it, because that doesn't change his love at all. It's just for his love towards us. But after we met Jessica, I think it was in May, it was right after that. And we were all sitting around. I think it was just me and Jason and Jessica and Mom.
Mhm.
And
Amanda wasn't there.
yeah, Amanda wasn't there. She'd went home. And we were talking, and Jason said, we were talking about, everything. And I was a heap of mess of tears all the time. And so Jason says, Dad, you got guilt and shame over this, don't you? And I said, no. I said, I know what that's like, and I'm not going to allow that to be part of my life. But you just have to give me regret. And they attacked me like a pack of wild coyotes or hyenas on the Serengeti or something.
With a lot of mercy.
Did I say that right? The Serengeti, is that right? Do hyenas live on the Serengeti?
I don't know.
I don't know.
where they are.
It's like But it's
Maybe
actually
Maybe
like
a Hindina.
later.
Maybe it's a Hindina.
that. So what happened was, it's like they wouldn't allow me to hold on to that negative emotion. And they were refusing for me to go forward with those things. So were there things that are there things that I wish that I would have done different with all of you? And the answer is yes. But that can't be my dominant emotional my view
Yeah.
of our life together, because we have this family and we get to celebrate and enjoy each other if we get out from under house arrest.
Yeah.
Right.
And it came down today. And we actually let her in the house for her and Michaela. And we let her in the house for the first time. We're living dangerous now.
Man.
You guys are contaminated.
I think too, for our family, one of the key things that we've all been able to do, and we work hard at it, and that is to hold short accounts of all offenses, meaning no matter what comes along, because we're all able to offend. We're all able to hurt each other. We wouldn't do it on purpose, but it happens. And so we've learned how to release that quickly, knowing that, we really have each other's best interest at heart. We really want the best for each one of us and our family and for others, actually. But I think that's been a key for all of us to be able to move through this and forget the past and realize what you don't want to drag forward with you.
Right.
And there were good things when the kids were growing up. We have a lot of fond memories of just simple things, cutting wood together, having friends over. Amanda had the Price girls over a lot. And we also had other people in our lives, like Pam's Butler at the time, and her 3 kids, Darcy.
And Rhonda Gordon's on. So
Rhonda Gordon's
Rhonda
on
and
here.
her parents.
So y'all say hi.
All those people.
And Rhonda lived with us, and Amanda loved her more than she loved me. Growing up, she would just come in the door, and all of a sudden I was invisible. And she wanted to go with Rhonda wherever Rhonda was, and Rhonda just hold her and carry her around, take care of her, and it was something. But our family is our prize jewels. We love all y'all so much and so proud of each one of you.
So Leroy, you got thrown into I saw the shirt. Yeah, it's a Royals shirt.
Really?
Baseball season. We should be watching baseball.
You're like barking up a wrong tree if you're going to talk bad about the Royals or the Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs announced their schedule today.
I sat up the other night, and me and Jess were sitting here, we're talking, and I wasn't ready to go to bed. Of course, I work once every 2 weeks. And for some silly reason, I stayed up until like 2:00 in the morning watching a rerun of the last Super Bowl, just because I wanted to watch Kansas City win again.
Right?
Uh-oh, he's coming over to the dark side.
He is totally on our side.
We have cookies. Actually, we have barbecue.
See,
if you put sauce on it, any kind of sauce, it's not real barbecue. It's because you screw up the meat.
Boy.
Then why is it called barbecue sauce?
Because somebody's
The flavor enhancer.
he's a work in progress.
No, I am not going to go to that dark side.
That's okay. I don't even like barbecue, so.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where she came from.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, we've been on here an hour.
I just wanted to ask Leroy and Chris how they feel about being a part of our family and how much they feel a part of our family.
Well, they love the girls.
We're all about the girls.
Yep. Good looking girls. It's been,
Hey, Chris.
it was a life-changing event for me.
You don't have to yell.
And well,
I feel your pain, buddy.
it's been like 8 years now. This whole thing is not working. I need a haircut.
Hey, Chris, look at this.
But
My barber's never closed.
Yeah. I've been very blessed. I'll say that. It was one of the biggest blessings I've ever had in my life to come into this family. So I'm a very happy man.
I feel that way about you.
I spent a long time not happy, so this has been a very good thing for me.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
We feel that way about you too,
Yeah,
babe.
we're glad you're here.
Yes. Leroy, how about you, babe? Jason's doing his hand wave again.
It's been very unique. I absolutely love being part of this family. I think, and I'm going to be honest for a minute, when we first came in contact, I was exceptionally apprehensive. But I think it's been nothing but a positive outcome. When we first met down in Charlottesville, I will have to say that, yeah, I knew the Lord, but I was not, I didn't have a personal relationship with him. And I think through you two's tutelage and through some of the experiences with her, I think, 7 years ago, would I be on a Zoom call 3 days a week doing Bible study?
And would Chris be on what? No. Yes.
Not a chance. So I think it's exceptionally positive being a part of the family. Nothing but positive for the boys. And getting back to something you guys said, would you change, if you could change some of the things you did with raising your kids? As a dad, I got a 32-year-old son, and there's a lot of things, and I got a 20-year-old son. So there's a huge separation between all my boys. And I think, looking back on it, are there things that I would have done differently? Absolutely. But I think, I asked Matt, my oldest, he's 32. And I asked him one day, I said, hey, was I a jerk? And he looked at me and he very honestly said, only when you had to be. So I think, don't knock yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put yourselves down. Don't worry about it. It's all in the past. Because I think you've raised an absolutely wonderful family in Jason and Amanda. Jessica's okay.
You knew he had to
And not catch a break. And not catch a break.
In all fairness, they didn't really have anything to do with raising her.
Well, this is true.
Which is why I'm the best one.
Oh, here it goes.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Go
on.
there, Jace. Come on, man. We can show them how we really are. I mean,
Well, Patsy said that we are blessed. My sister, Patsy, said we are blessed to have y'all. And we are.
we are blessed to have it.
We are. And I know there's a lot of people watching, and their situation isn't like ours is, but our situation wasn't always like this.
That's right. We
And,
worked at it.
The key to all that is that we made a decision to hang on to Jesus and not let go.
Yes.
And regardless of what kind of mistakes we made or kind of pain we caused, we were still going to just walk with him, and we're going to see it through. And that's why we've been able to be here tonight, as a family, and as we are, we don't get to be together. We get to see Amanda every now and then, and
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
but Jessica and Leroy are in Maryland, and Jason's in Dallas, and one of these days they're going to have to come back here and take care of their aging parents.
Yeah, I've had my turn.
Amanda's like, I'm done. It's not my turn no more.
You did your time. Is that what you're saying?
Oh
I
my
had
God.
my turn.
Your
had my turn.
term? Your term? You served your term. Thanks a lot, baby. I love you.
Yeah.
Jeez. So we've been on here an hour and 10 minutes, so we probably should call this.
I got something to tell you for your birthday.
What's that?
I got you a birthday present.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I finished the book.
You finished it?
Yes.
I finished my part.
You did? Oh, I knew you've been working on it.
Nope, I'm done.
You're done?
Yep. That was
Capital D-U-N.
She's been driving me
Done.
crazy for the past 3-4 days.
Way to go.
She's been
So for
crazy.
those of you who don't know what she's talking about, we've been working on a book together. And so now I guess I have to finish my part.
Yeah. Tonight you can stop harassing me on the internet.
I ain't been harassing you.
You told everybody that I wasn't doing it.
Who?
So,
Who did I tell that?
all these people that's watching.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. That's a great birthday
It is a
present. So
great
tomorrow's my
present.
birthday. So
Yes, tomorrow's Jimmy's birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday.
happy birthday to
Happy
you.
night,
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday.
What he said?
What he said. You call me old timer?
Birthday.
What?
Happy 900th birthday. So she was asking me earlier when she was finishing doing, she was cramming. I couldn't get her attention for anything. She's cramming on this book, cramming. And she said, give me 3 titles that you think would be good for the book. And I started saying stuff like, what did I say?
I'm not part of this. No.
The ancient guy and the little girl.
Ancient guy and the little girl.
Old ancient preacher dude and the little girl. There's all kinds of stuff. But yeah.
Thanks, Leroy.
I'm
Listen,
here for you, buddy.
listen. I am 3 months older than him.
Now
No,
you're
you're
in
not.
for it.
Yes, I am.
No, you're like,
What are you saying, son?
you're like in your 30s.
What do you say?
You're in your 30s.
Oh, I like the way you think, but
Well, let's do this. Let's close in prayer and pray for everybody that's watching. And
yeah, we had a prayer request somebody asked for. Let me find it real quick. Thank you, kids, for coming on and being open and being here. It means so much.
yeah,
We'll have to do some fun stuff like this again. I can't
I
find
think
it
that
now.
thing shut down and started over again
If
because
you
people
send
are.
Yeah, it did.
request, please
Did it?
send it back again so that we can pray, because
Yeah.
it's left my mind now because of the
All right, well, let's pray. Father, thank you so much for our family. Thank you
Yes,
for our
Jesus.
children, the grandchildren, Lord.
Yes.
We pray for everyone that would see this time together, Lord, that they would be encouraged and know that there's a way to get through all the difficulties that they have as a
Yes.
family, Lord, that you'll help them and you'll guide them. Lord, we pray for all those that are sick and suffering tonight, Lord.
Yes,
Lord, we pray for
Jesus.
them and ask you to intervene in their behalf, Lord, cause a healing to flow through their body. And Lord, raise them up from that sick bed. Lord, we pray for our leaders tonight. Ask you to give them wisdom, Lord. Let not people come and try to make this into an opportunity
Yes.
for divisiveness against us as a nation, Lord. Just give us wisdom. Lord, bless my children tonight and my grandchildren.
Yes, God.
Lord, we're so grateful for all of them. And we love them in Jesus' name.
And we
Amen.
love you all for being on here with us. Thank you for being interested. I hope it was an inspiration to know that you can get through anything.
That's right. All right. You know what I got to say?
Bye, kiddos. I love you all.
Adios.
Do we do this?
Yeah.
Just plan a family vacation.
Yes, sir.
That's what we
Come on.
need. Yes.
Let's do it. All
Let's
right.
do that.